I want you to watch 4 clips and tell me who's the front man of this band.
This is the circle pit closer! Spin that fucking pit! Open it up!
Obviously, it has to be the lead singer with the microphone at the end. Right? I think these 2 definitions are more applicable to this band. I'll tell you why, but first. Alexisonfire is a post-hardcore band from Ontario, Canada, formed in 2001. This is Wade. He plays guitar, does vocals, and manages to be equally handsome and chunky at the same time. Here's George from earlier. He sings harsh vocals and works as a firefighter when he doesn't do band stuff. This is Dallas. He plays guitar and sings clean vocals. In 2005, he started a solo folk project called City and Color, which in time would grow bigger than Alexisonfire. This project would be a major reason for Alexisonfire's breakup in 2011.
Trying to balance his life between touring with us at the same time quelling the success of City and Color was a task too difficult to continue managing. He informed us he wanted to focus his efforts on City and Color.
It was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life, was to sit here and tell those 4 guys that I was going to leave the band.
I want you all to repeat.
This lunatic is Chris. He plays bass and works as a barber. He also moonlights as the lead singer of Maroon 5.
Everybody lights up! Oh my God! Everyone come over, look at this guy! Looks like Adam Levine. Here's your free coffee, sir.
Finally, there's Jordan. He plays drums. I won't be talking a lot about him in this video, but he's a monster drummer. Allegedly, he's also the most normal member of the band.
5 maniacs. And then he was like, no, wait, there's 4 maniacs. Beard's pretty normal. But then he was like, but Beard has to be normal because the other 4 of you, you're insane. And I was like, that pretty much describes it.
The opening clips in Dallas' story makes it obvious that Jordan has more of a backseat role, literally and figuratively. And that George, Wade, Dallas, and Chris are the most prominent characters within the band. By the way, all the live clips in this video are taken from their show on the main stage of Reading Festival in 2015. To make a long story short, after their breakup in 2011 and subsequent farewell tour in 2012, they started to sporadically play shows again in 2015.
People were like, the fuck, what did Wade just say? What's happening? And I wonder if
in my mind, me saying Alexisonfire is back, which is a pretty hype way to end a show.
Yeah. I thought so.
Their set at Reading 2015 is one of my favorite and most revisited live performances. That seems to ring true for several other people if you have a quick look at some of the YouTube comments. So what makes this performance so special? Obviously, they are great musicians that play well together. But for me, it's about the intense energetic interaction of the band members with each other and with the crowd throughout the whole show. And I think this comes from the most prominent members of the band, George, Wade, Dallas, and Chris, serving as 4 frontmen in different ways. To show this more clearly, let's dive a bit deeper into what the 2 most important facets of being a frontman are and see how the guys embody these. Coming back to our definition from earlier, we see that being a frontman can be divided into 2 parts. I'd like to flesh out these definitions a bit. Being the lead performer is probably most clearly exemplified in having the lead part of the band, be it singing the main melody or performing a riff or a solo. That's why the lead singer of a band often also is the frontman. They tend to perform the lead part for 80 to 90% of the duration of a song. On the other hand, Being a figurehead of a group is more about providing energy to the live performance through engagement and crowd interaction. Starting with George, it's obvious that he embodies both parts of being a frontman. His harsh vocals, and most recently his singing on their newest album, Otherness, is part of every song in the band's catalogue. He provides a lot of crowd interaction and is a spectacle to watch live, with plenty of drooling and shirt ripping.
Everybody, repeat after me.
Most shows, his shirt suddenly starts looking like this, and is ripped off him a few minutes later. Continuing with Dallas, the dynamics between his soaring angelic voice and George's painful sounding harsh vocals are one of the signature traits of the band. They have a similar amount of vocal parts throughout most of their songs. Some feature George more, for example Dog's Blood, while others, like The Northern, include more of Dallas. But most of their songs have a balance of clean and harsh vocal parts. However, compared to George and the others, Dallas keeps himself more in the background when he doesn't sing and sparingly interacts with the crowd.
I've watched this man stand in front of a crowd of 20,000 people and just stare at them until they go insane. Well, nothing's even happening, and George just stares at them. And then conjures them to move like as one, and I mean, I could never do anything like that.
Wade falls somewhere between Dallas and George vocally. He provides both harsh vocals and raspy singing parts. He's also the king of woes.
Us to be the Misfits, but I've put so many woes in our songs, and we have a skull logo, so honestly I think we're doing pretty good.
His vocal contribution can be split into three main parts. Harsh vocals that he often uses to double George's parts to give them more power in certain sections of a song. Woes and background vocals, like the repeats in the chorus of This Could Be Anywhere in the World. And lastly, his lead singing parts from songs like Boiled Frogs, All Crows, and Drunks, Lovers, Sinners, and Saints. His lead singing parts are some of my favorites from the band. When it comes to bringing energy to the performances, Wade is much more similar to George than Dallas. He moves around and provides a lot of action throughout the show. He's also the one that speaks most to the crowd other than George.
For those of you who do know we are, push everybody else out of the way. Get to the front.
Finally, Chris is probably the odd one out of the four. Firstly, this comes from the fact that he plays bass. In most styles of music, the bassist does not have many lead parts. Rather, it is most often the instrument that ties together the harmonic information from the guitars, in our case, with the rhythmic information from the drums. You could say that the bass is the glue between rhythm and harmony in a lot of music. Secondly, Chris does not provide any vocals like the other three members we have been talking about. So what does he do exactly? He's the one in the band with the most stage presence. Whether he is dancing around in his own bubble, interacting with the crowd or with the other band members, he's always doing something that makes you take notice of him and that keeps the spectacle and energy of the performance going. Shane Told, the lead singer from Silverstein, has a podcast called Lead Singer Syndrome that I enjoy listening to. In it, he talks to lead singers from different bands, and they often discuss how the singers tackle fronting their band. A common challenge many of the singers describe is balancing their energy level on stage with being able to perform their parts live. Alexisonfire, having their vocal parts split between 3 different members, allows them to bring more engagement and energy to their live performance while still nailing their parts. Chris also factors into this by always being a source of stage presence for the band if some of the other members need to focus more on their lead parts. With the aforementioned challenge in mind, it also makes sense that Dallas is the most calm on stage due to him both having some of the more technically demanding vocal parts while also having to play guitar. All in all, I would say that the four of them managed to perform a show with overall high energy and engagement, while being able to dynamically balance the energy between each other in a way that allows them to perform their parts at a high level. You could argue that they are not four distinct frontmen, but rather that the symbiosis of their roles and personalities leads to something bigger than the sum of their parts. The four of them fronting the band together.
Like the best moments of my life have been on stage when we find that agreement where we're all playing as one and the crowd is feeling it as one, and it's like the romantic, magical shit about being in a band.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Give us the main stage at Reading Festival. We're delivering.
Can you
Put us
guys-
the Much Music
What?
Video
He's
Awards.
out?